With more than 20 years of service as the head of the Richland County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Leon Lott says he has made building strong community relationships the focal point of the department's approach to law enforcement. The MinorityEye recently sat down with Sheriff Lott to discuss the challenges and successes he has had as the top cop of the largest law enforcement department in the state of South Carolina. How are you doing today?
Good to be here with you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you for taking time to sit down with me. Wanted to start off, you've been sheriff now about 20 years. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Well, I've been a police officer for 41 years. I grew up in Aiken, went to the University of South Carolina at Aiken, played baseball there, and then got my degree there, then came on to USC Columbia and got my bachelor's degree here, and graduated in May of 1975 and started at Richland County Sheriff's Department in June of '75. I worked through the ranks to captain. I was promoted to first supervisor rank in 1983 when I was placed in charge of the narcotics unit for the Sheriff's Department, and progressed on up to captain. Left Richland County in 1992, and in 1993 became the police chief in the town of St. Matthews, where I served for 3.5 years before I was elected sheriff in 1996.
Okay. Sheriff, wanted to know, what do you feel has been your greatest accomplishment since you have become sheriff of Richland County?
The relationship we've built with all the communities of Richland County. This is a very diverse community. We've developed relationships with everybody that comprises Richland County, and we have a strong relationship. We've built a lot of bridges with the community, and we've opened up our doors to the community. We allow them to be part of just about everything that we do. So it's been a very open sheriff's department that's teamed up with the community to make sure that we're successful, and that's how we've been successful, the fact that the community works with us as a team.
Okay. You mentioned relationships. You being a sheriff in a southern city, in a county that's predominantly African American, you have extremely high approval ratings from all segments of the community. What do you contribute that to?
Well, building a relationship. It's the fact that you allow everybody to come in, and being very transparent, allowing citizens to be part of what we do with our Citizens Advisory Council. We started some 16 years ago, which allows citizens to come in and see our internal affairs complaints, our police officer shootings, our policy and procedures. They're part of our hiring board. We have some 27 community members who are leaders in our community who've been on this Citizens Advisory Council. And it's just worked wonders in building a great relationship because you are very transparent. There's no secrets in anything that we do.
Okay. Well, on the topic of transparency in the community, your department has faced some criticism about not turning investigative officers involved shootings over their sled. How would you respond to that?
Well, for the past 2 years, we've been doing our own shootings. We've actually investigated one of the sled shootings. If an agency has the capabilities, and when I say capabilities, that's the expertise in investigations, expertise in a full-size forensic lab, and they have the trust of the community, and there's no reason why they shouldn't. The only reason why agencies shouldn't do an investigation when the community doesn't trust them. And the community trusts us. For the last 2 years that we've been doing them, there hasn't been one complaint from the community at all about that. Our Citizens Advisory Council is one of the safeguards. The grand jury is another safeguard. The coroner's office safeguard, and the solicitor's office safeguards. You know, they look at the work that we do and they examine it, and they actually make the decisions. We don't make a decision if a shooting is justifiable or not. We just gather the evidence and present it to these other organizations who do that. But we're the only agency in the state that has a Citizens Advisory Council that's allowed to see our police shootings. And they give their opinion. They give their voice on how citizens view what we do.
Okay. Sure. How large, give us a estimate about how large is the Sheriff's Department as far as uniformed officers?
We have 800 gun-carrying deputies and probably another 100 support personnel. We're right at 900 personnel. We're the largest law enforcement agency in this state. But we're full service. We do everything. I do not have the jail, so we don't have to have any connections with the jail as far as the manpower and that, where A lot of sheriff's departments in this state do that. They control the jail. We don't here. We do strictly law enforcement.
Okay. Sheriff, could you tell us a little bit about, I know you guys have in place some intervention programs, prevention programs, and a lot of the community may not know about those. Could you tell us a little bit about some of those programs?
Well, I'm a project of a diversionary program. I got arrested when I was 16 years old for egging police cars. And I went through a diversionary program. So that's always stuck with me. That's one of the reasons why I'm a police officer, is the impact they had on my life. So when I became leadership positions, I always said that we're going to make sure that we have lots of diversionary programs. Kids make mistakes. Adults make mistakes. We shouldn't crucify them for one minor mistake that they do. So we've created a lot of diversionary programs to keep them from getting in the criminal justice system. Our youth arbitration program has a 92% success rate. That means 92% of the kids who go through that program never get in trouble again. And we started in one school, then went to all the schools. Now it's throughout the whole community. That if a young person gets caught breaking the law and it's a minor offense, instead of getting arrested, they go through the youth arbitration program. Our Next Steps program helps families in crisis, or families that are on the verge of crisis. We help them learn parenting skills, and we do it as a family for them. We have our Scared Straight program, which has been very successful. Beyond Scared Straight, which is a nationally recognized television program, rated us as their #1 program that they did, because we kept kids all night long. Most places keep them for a couple hours and let them go, but parents came to me when we first started this program and said, we don't want them to do it for just a couple hours. We want them kept all night long. So they come in at Friday at 4 and they go back home at 8 o'clock next morning. But the parents, when they drop them off, just don't leave. They go through a program also. And you'll see such a huge transformation in those kids when time they get here at 4 to when the parents come get them at 8 o'clock and they have to stand up and read a letter to them on things that they've done wrong and how they're going to straighten their life out. So we have a whole youth service division that's dedicated to do nothing but keep kids out of the criminal justice system.
Okay. Given the incident at Spring Valley High School, there's been some talk among community leaders and some legislators to reform the disturbing school law. Could you give us your perspective or your thoughts on the disturbing school law here in South Carolina?
That's one of the worst laws that we've got. I've never been in favor of it. It's too broad of a law, it leaves too much discretion. It's been abused. And so I've been on the forefront of saying that that needed to be changed. And sadly, it's not going to be changed this year. Legislation did not go through. And so we have it again this year that we've got to deal with it until our next legislative year. Disturbing schools law has been probably one of the most abused laws that we've ever passed. And it's penalizing kids for discipline problems, not breaking the law, but for discipline problems. And we shouldn't do that.
Okay. Sheriff, there's recently been a rise in crime in Northeast Columbia. What do you contribute that to, and what are some of the things your department is doing to suppress that crime?
Well, again, I think some of that was over-exaggerated. Starting in December, actually on Christmas night, we had a shooting, and we had a couple of shootings after that. We had someone shot at the public. So we didn't have an overall huge increase of crime, but it was concentrated in one area. What we found out was that we had a group of high school kids that were going out and robbing drug dealers. And the drug dealers got tired of being robbed. So they started having gun battles. And we've arrested 8 high school kids. We lost 1 life of someone that was shot in one of these drug rip-offs. But once we made those arrests, crime in the Northeast now has been almost non-existent. So we were able to identify what the problems were and put our resources there and put our investigators on it, and we were able to solve all those cases.
Sheriff Lott, what are some of, you told us what you felt your greatest accomplishment was at the Sheriff Department. What are some of the things you still hope to implement in the department? Well,
again, our youth services. We've got to do more to stop our kids from getting involved in gangs and gun violence. Chief Holbrook and I have talked about this at some great length, that we identify one of the greatest threats we've got now is young people with guns. And so we're focusing on that. We've got the Midlands Gang Task Force, which was the first federal grant ever to go to a gang initiative. And it's about 12 agencies here in the Midlands that are all working together. We've came together and we decided that we have to really work together. And this Midlands Gang Task Force that one of my captains, Captain Goggins, is the head of it. has been very successful, and they hit it two ways, education and enforcement. We'll never lock our way out of a problem. You have to educate our way out of a problem. We've got to educate our young people why they shouldn't get involved in a gang, if they're in a gang, on how to get out of it. But we also have to do the enforcement part too. So we balance that, and we balance the education just like we put emphasis on that, just like we do enforcement.
Okay. Sheriff, given there's been a recent rise, or I shouldn't say rise, but there's been a recent light of police-involved shootings, especially with African-American males, unarmed suspects. As the sheriff, and being the sheriff of a county that's predominantly African-American, what are some of the things that you and your department are doing to make sure that you keep those lines of communication open between your department and the community?
Well, it's just what you said. We have to keep those lines open, and you have to be very upfront with what's going on, and you have to get the information out there quickly. And again, that's where our Citizens Advisory Council has proved to be so valuable. When you do have an incident, you have to get the truth out. If you don't get the truth out, then you're going to have rumors. And it doesn't matter if it's bad or good, you got to get it out. The citizens want to know. And we have our procedures were set up where we do that. We get that information out as quick as possible. But we also have to train our officers. We have to train our officers that, you're not a warrior all the time. You got to be the peacemaker, and you have to know when to turn it on and when to turn it off. So we do a lot of training with that. And then with cameras in the cars and monitoring what our officers do, we pay close attention to what they do, and a lot of it's on video. And we study it and we look at it, and if we see a problem, we address it.
Okay. Sheriff, before I let you go, is there anything you would like the citizens of Richland County to know?
Well, just that for the past 20 years, I think the works I've done really speak loudly about what kind of sheriff's department we have and what kind of sheriff that I've been. For 20 years, I've proven to be a leader, and a leader that they can trust. And it's been built on relationships, and that's not going to change. Just because I've been sheriff 20 years, I have the experience to continue doing what we've been doing and building upon what we're doing. I think one of the things that I'm most proud about our community is that when we've had incidents that could have been very terrible, instead of burning bridges, this community worked together and we strengthened the bridges we got and even built more bridges. We didn't burn bridges here.
Sheriff, thank you for taking time to sit down.
Thank you.